I don't think of it as a job. I don't have to dread going to work in the morning. It's a wonderful feeling to get up and love what you do. Quality control is of utmost importance with nuclear medicine. So tracers that we prepare for our patients will make or break their diagnoses, and the highest quality is necessary to get the best images for these patients. What I love about nuclear medicine is how it blends both science and people skills. So I get to work in a lab and use really fancy high-tech equipment, but I also get to work with patients and make a difference, hopefully, in their lives. And it's a great balance to have a blend of both worlds.
All right, everyone take a look at this heart model here.
So the BCIT nuclear medicine program is the only nuclear medicine training program in British Columbia. Our students are taught through a combination of in-class learning, simulated lab activities, and hands-on clinical practice. The biggest advantage of students working in the clinical setting is that they are allowed to take the knowledge that they gained and apply it to real-life practice and develop competency in the skills that they need to do the profession.
The instructors at BCIT, they know exactly what's expected of a graduate technologist, so I feel that they know exactly how to prepare us to be working in the field when we graduate.
Usually by the end of the test, I can take the most fearful patient and make them feel like they've had a really good time with us here in nuclear medicine. Sometimes you can really get to know patients and you feel like you're really making a difference in their lives. That's really rewarding.
Okay, so my name is Christy Owen. I'm one of the two program heads at the BCIT Nuclear Medicine Department. I share this role with Thomas, who's hanging out at home tonight, and it'll be his turn next time, so we'll switch it up. So yeah, let's start with a little bit about what nuclear medicine is. It sounds like you guys have a small understanding of it already. So nuclear medicine is the study of the functional aspects of the body, and we use biological tracers with a little bit of radioactivity. We administer it to a patient, usually via intravenous, inhalation, or orally, and then we're able to take images with that. We use specialized equipment, SPECT CT cameras or PET CT cameras. Up and coming is PET MR as well, which would be PET MRI. And we're really unique because we're a very functional type of imaging, and I'm going to show you guys some fun. This is, of course, this is a bone scan, as you might imagine. I'm going to show you guys some more fun images coming up here, just to give you a little taste of some of the things that we do on the daily. We do a lot of cardiac imaging. This is an example of a study where we're evaluating the function of the left ventricle. So this is the left ventricle ejection fraction, and we calculate that by using the amount of taking the patient's red blood cells essentially and monitoring how quickly they run through the heart. And so we can do some analysis on the chamber in the left of the left ventricle, and we can get an idea of how well the heart muscle is working. And this is really helpful for patients who are on some medications that may be toxic to their heart, such as chemotherapy. So we do a lot of follow-ups with that and evaluate their heart in many different ways. Go ahead and go to the next one if you like, Erin. So this one you can see, you might recognize this organ. It's a set of lungs. On the far left and the third row, so the far left row and the third row, or column, I should say, pardon me, column. These are images of the patient inhaling our radioactive mist, and it goes to the lungs according to how well their alveoli are functioning. Essentially, the patient's breathing in our mist, and then we image them. And then the second column and fourth column are actually looking at the how much perfusion that their lungs are getting. So we're looking to see how much blood flow is going to their lungs, and we're looking for something called a pulmonary embolus, which can block some blood flow to portions of patient's lung, which can be quite of an emergency situation. So this is another type of scan that we do quite regularly. Go ahead to the next one if you want, Erin. So this is an example of where we use a fusion type of imaging. So We use CT, so you'll see on the far right-hand side, that's a CT, and the far left is our nuclear medicine. And when we combine them, it really helps us to visualize where any sort of abnormality might be. So, for example, this patient may have a fracture in one of their bones in their ankle there. You can kind of see that highlighted. And so our tracers are really unique in that they can respond to very small changes in the cellular metabolism of certain organs. So we detect changes way earlier than some of the anatomical types of imaging. So they're really fun. Our day is unique too in the sense that it's not repetitive. So each scan has its own protocol and its own set of decision making that a technologist has to make. So it does keep life very interesting as a nuclear medicine technologist. So this is an example of PET CT. So PET is positron emission tomography, and it's a branch of nuclear medicine. So when you graduate from BCIT nuclear medicine program, you're also able to work in any sort of PET department. And it's really the same type of thing as general nuclear medicine. It just uses slightly different types of radioactive tracers and a slightly different type of machine. But the concepts are very similar. So this is an example of a patient who has liver metastases, it looks like. And so on the left, it's the general nuclear medicine PET pictures, and then on the right, it's the far right is the combined picture, and the middle is the CT. So it does kind of show that we can take pictures of many different organs using a lot of different types of radioactive tracers. And we're also getting very much into therapies now. So if you've heard of the term theranostics, that's a big up and coming trend in the nuclear medicine field, where we are taking now this tracer that we know exactly where it goes to, and it goes to the lesions that we want. We're actually tagging it to a more damaging type of radioactivity, and that helps us damage that tumor and improve survival rates in like many types of cancer. Specifically prostate cancer is one that's really big right now. So that's an up and coming area of nuclear medicine. We're growing a lot. Sorry, I'm trying not to speak too fast. So some fun facts, you can go ahead there, Erin, if you want. Some fun facts about being a nuclear medicine technologist is it's not a shift work type of schedule. So you're not working nights typically. So a department will be open anywhere from 5 a.m. to typically 5 p.m., more like banker's hours. So if you're looking for something where you want like life work balance, it's a really good career. As I kind of previously mentioned, we were able to do both diagnostic and therapeutic types of imaging. It's really cool because it incorporates all the sciences. So we have the physics of the equipment that we use, and we have the anatomy, biology, pathophysiology of the types of studies that we do. And we really do kind of cover all the bases with regards to the sciences, even chemistry. We are in the lab a little bit, and we are making our tracers. So we're able to take our radioactivity, we're taught how to label them to our tracer and evaluate them to make sure that they're going to be effective within the patient's body. So you're trained in lots of different skills, and you're definitely not going to be just a button pusher. You're really someone who has good critical thinking, problem solving, and decision making skills by the time you graduate, which is pretty awesome. Next, I would say the direct patient care. So yes, you are interacting with patients on a daily basis. There are shifts that are just solely in a lab, for example, but most nuclear medicine technologists are interacting with patients for most of their shift, performing these studies. And so you do make a difference in their lives. And I think we just got cut off in the video right about there, where patients do come and require these studies and require them to be done in a very high quality fashion, so that it helps diagnose their disease or set their stage. It helps them on their path to recovery. So you do have an impact on their journey in the healthcare system. Most nuclear medicine departments are found in a hospital. Most of the big hospitals in the Lower Mainland and throughout BC will have a nuclear medicine department in them. There's one private PET clinic, and there's a few PET clinics as well at BC cancer agencies. We do a lot of different types of scans every day. So basically every single organ that we have in our body, we can do a type of imaging. So whether it's thyroid, brain, lung, heart, spleen, stomach, GI, kidneys, bladder, bone, lymph, we have different, depending on the radioactive tracer that we administer, we have different types of studies that we would do to look at certain pathologies and things like that. So that's pretty interesting. And yeah, as far as hybrid goes, we do have our general nuclear medicine, which is SPECT CT. And then we also have PET CT, which is in our BC Cancer facilities, and then PET MR is up and coming. It's just a little bit more helpful sometimes to have MR for different tissue types, different tissue densities. And so right now, I think it's mostly used for research, but there are some PET MRs coming down the pipe in the future. So that's exciting. Okay, you can go to the next one, Erin. Thank you. So this is our gamma camera at BCIT. We just got a brand new Siemens Intivo Bold. Probably doesn't mean much to you, but it's nicer than some of the ones in the local hospitals, to be perfectly honest. So you do get an opportunity to have a lot of hands-on training in our lab with your student cohort, as well as with very small amounts of or high instructor to student ratio. So we usually have around 4 students to 1 instructor working in these kinds of environments, which is really helpful for getting that hands-on experience. So the program itself runs for 24 continuous months. There is a couple of week-long breaks that are scheduled in there. Every year we intake 16 students. In the first year, it's mostly on campus and just learning. You need to kind of have that foundational knowledge before we schedule you into clinical. So the first year is just learning all about what nuclear medicine is and the basic procedures. And so you come in September for your first term, and then you're ready to go to your first clinical term in May. So summer number 1 is in the end of May of that year. And then year 2, come September of second year, we actually have you alternating in and out of clinical and school. So that means you're 2 weeks on campus, 2 weeks in a local site nearby. And that helps to kind of give you the ability to practice while learning and providing the context of what you're learning and being able to apply what you're learning to a clinical situation. So we find that works really well. Okay, so go ahead, Erin, thank you. So our clinical placements run in total throughout the program for 40 weeks, and there are 35 hours per week. The main clinical sites we use are through the Lower Mainland, especially for during the school year. However, we do have opportunities for students to do their clinical practicums on the island, interior health, northern health, if you like. We're really open to that. We have a really good relationship with our clinical sites, and we're able to kind of help facilitate any of those requests. And throughout your clinical practicums, you'll have the opportunity to work at least 4 different clinical sites, sometimes more, depending on what competencies you might need as you're developing your skill set. So where do you go after? So your career outlook is pretty cool. So right now, you walk out the door of our program and you will get hired. Our hiring rate has been 100% over the last 3 years. It kind of took a dip around COVID, which you might not be surprised about. So post-COVID, it's been 100% hiring rate, and really people are still short-staffed now. So they're looking for more people. Beyond being a nuclear medicine technologist, there are other opportunities for you as well. So our graduates, Erin, you can go to the next one if you want. Our graduates have become many different things. So you could end up being an educator like me. There's research opportunities, especially with PET and theranostics. You can work in PET clinics, radiochemistry if you have a bit of a chemistry background, radiation safety officers. Tons of our technologists are radiation safety officers. Clinical app specialists working with vendors or sales with vendors. Directors. So if you work in a hospital, could rise up to the level of supervisor and then director and practice lead and that sort of thing. There's also opportunities for both temporary jobs like casual positions and then permanent. So if you don't know what that difference is, casual position you can typically get right upon graduation, and that means that you will get not necessarily a guaranteed amount of work per week, although most of our technologists are working full time, but you can be a little bit more flexible in when you choose to be available, and you can choose your schedule. On top of your hourly rate, you'll get about 12 to 14%, I think it is now, to compensate for like vacation pay and benefits and things like that. Whereas a permanent position would be you're working your 5 days a week. That's your permanent gig. You can count on it every single week, and there's sort of both of those options available. To give you guys some insight on what it's like being a student in our program, we have a student here. Her name is Lucy Fleming, and she is graciously volunteered her time tonight to come join us. And she's going to speak a little bit about what it's like being a nuclear medicine student. She put her light on. Get you glowing there with the lights. So Lucy's in her second year. She's almost done all her course curriculum. It'll be done at the end of May. And so feel free to ask her some questions, especially if you don't think of them right now. You can ask them in the Q&A, but Lucy will tell you a little bit about what it's like being in the program, and a little bit, anything that comes to mind about her future career or anything like that. So thanks so much, Lucy.
Thank you, Christy. So yeah, I'm just gonna talk a little bit about why I chose Nuke Med, what I've enjoyed about the program, and some advice for anyone considering it. So in terms of like why I chose the program, I had just finished up a science degree, and I was just looking for something that would prepare me for a good, fulfilling job that also aligned with my interests. So this program really stood out to me when exploring the website, because I really liked the unique combination of lab work, working with like cutting edge technology, and also working directly with patients in such like a rapidly growing and exciting field. But yeah, in terms of what I've enjoyed about the program and what I appreciate about the program, a standout for me versus like the typical university experience has been the small class sizes. I find it makes like a very comfortable environment and makes it much easier to learn. I also really like the smaller class sizes because you get to know your classmates so much better, and there's many opportunities to like work together, and it makes it so much more manageable and enjoyable. And I also appreciate the very high like instructor to student ratio in the program with only 16 students. And it's been really cool how knowledgeable and passionate all the instructors are to learn from. And it's also nice being in such a small program that everyone like really wants you to succeed, and they're willing to help and support you to make it happen. And I also really love the emphasis on like hands-on learning there is in the program. So we have plenty of labs in our first year to make us feel prepared to go out to clinical, such as like lab skills, learning how to work the cameras, practicing patient care on each other, learning injection techniques and stuff. And we also get a lot of real clinical experience in the hospitals, which really helps like become more comfortable and confident over time with the job itself. Yeah, but in terms of advice for anyone who might be considering the program, I'd really recommend it to anyone who's interested in science, working with cool technology and patient care. When I was thinking about the program, I really liked having a look at the program's Instagram page just to give some insight into like the kinds of things the students were getting up to. I liked looking at like the videos of the lab, so I'd recommend that. And I also did a student for the day when I was thinking about the program. Basically, you get like a schedule of various first and second year courses and labs for the day. And it was just good to get a good taste of what the program would be like. And it's an opportunity to like ask instructors questions as well. It definitely solidified like my interest in the field, and it made me realize it was the program I wanted to do. So I'd recommend that as well. But yeah, thanks for listening. I can also leave my email in case any questions come up along the way. But I'll pass it back to you, Christy.
Thanks, Lucy. I'm grabbing a question for you, not to put you on the spot, from the chat from Anna. And she says she's doing a science degree as well. She was wondering if you had any issues with application or transfer credits.
No, I think it was pretty direct. Correct me if I'm wrong, Christy, but I don't think there's any like required university science courses.
No, and we're going to
Just
go through
like-
entrance requirements shortly, but there's no required university courses for our program, although that does kind of boost your application for sure. There are a couple, well, one course that you can attain credit from. You just have to do the nuclear medicine specific part of it, like I think it's a couple of assignments, and I think you did that, Lucy, so you could probably speak to
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah,
If any
so
questions about that, that's what I did. Just for like the math, I think, yeah.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, and don't worry, I'm going to be going through the entrance requirements as well. Erin, any other questions for Lucy or anything?
No, that was great. It's just great to hear why someone chose the program and what they love about it. So thank you so much, Lucy.
Thank you so much, Lucy.
Okay.
It's fun as an instructor too, because I also teach. I'm not just the program head there, but it's fun as an instructor too, because you really get to know the students, and that's really part of why I love my my job. You kind of get to know everybody, and you watch them grow over the 2 years, and then all of a sudden they're graduating and they're, you know, their own nuclear medicine technologists.
Yeah, that's the
So
main difference from university, and it's not a big lecture theater at BCIT. You really do
no,
get to know your instructors very well, and a lot of your instructors are your future coworkers. So, yeah.
and nuclear medicine is a really small community, so we tend to know everybody. I know people worldwide in nuclear medicine. I mean, across Canada for sure, but in the Lower Mainland, it's a no-brainer. You really get to know everyone, so you're probably working with your classmates in the future at some point for sure, and which is also really fun. So I guess we can go ahead and start with, or continue with like some of the admission stuff now. So the overview of the admissions. Let's talk about start date. So the start date of the next cycle will be September 2024. So this September, and our application window opened October 1st. And it will be closed when it's filled. So currently it's not completely filled. I think it's just over half the seats are filled right now. So I feel we have somewhere between around 9 applicants that have kind of paid their commitment fees. So there's still space, and that's a really good thing. So the next page, let's talk a little bit about the entrance requirements. So just grade 12 stuff. So we do get a handful, less than a handful of students from high school, I would say. So they'll, students from high school tend to do quite well in the program, probably because, as my students tell me now, it's nothing like university in the sense that we actually care about all the students. So we're always like following up to make sure they're good and happy and they have what they need. And I think the grade 12 the graduates probably succeed partially because of that. So most of the time the students coming from high school are fairly strong science students that come in, and they do quite well. I would say the only theme I've noticed, sometimes grade 12 students haven't figured out exactly what they want, and this is quite a specific career. So there's certain grade 12 students that come in and this is what they want and this is great, and then some come in and they're like, I'm not sure, I think I want to travel, or I think I want to do something else. So that sometimes that happens. But okay, so grade 12 courses, you guys would need English 12, Pre-Calc 12, A&P 12, Chem 12, Physics 11. And there is an acknowledgement of requirements as well, and you can find that on the web page. If you have done university since then, you may have more than 5 years that have elapsed since you've done your grade 12 classes, and there's kind of two scenarios. So if you've been somewhere else completely and you haven't done any sciences for longer than 12 years, then upgrades are definitely recommended. But if you've been in university and some similar kinds of courses or course themes, then typically, we will count some of your university education as, that recent education that would apply to the program. So the 5-year recommendation is it's kind of a loose recommendation. So don't stress too much about that if it's been a little bit longer. Also, if you are in high school, then you can submit your midterm grades if you're not quite done some of these courses, but the midterm grades must demonstrate at least half of the eligible criteria of the course. There's also one more thing I would like to recommend is there is a pre-assessment form, sorry, in step 1, I kind of glossed over, that outlines your educational experience, your volunteer your interest in the program, any other things that you might feel we would want to know to consider you as an applicant. We are looking at this and we are using this to help guide who we think would be a good fit in this program. So it is important to take your time to fill this out. So we want to see any volunteer work that you've done or what your experience has been in post-secondary, why you want to go into this program and knowledge and skills you hope to gain from completing this program. So take your time to fill that out. And if you have any questions about that, there's going to be my email at the end. You can definitely reach out and ask me. So we will assess that first, and then once we say, yes, please go ahead and apply, you'll be given the go-ahead by our program assistant, and you'll be able to submit your application online to BCIT. So overall, you can go ahead, Erin, thank you. Overall, preference would be given to applicants who have a strong, as Lucy mentioned, a strong science background, ideally within the last 5 years, but again, it's a little bit loose. Some sort of post-secondary education, because there are so many skills you learn from that. Good grades, interest in the field, and any related volunteer or work experience is also great. So as far as the application steps go, basically you want to take a look at what's required, which we went over, when you'd want to submit your application by, and like we said, it's first come, first qualified, first accept. So the sooner the better would, if your heart is set on nuclear medicine, the sooner the better. Especially, we just did a big info session in person last week, so I expect that we will get a few more applications in from there. So if you are interested, please apply sooner than later. So after you get all your stuff together to apply, you're going to sign your applicant acknowledgement of program requirements. Says you're physically able to perform the tasks that you would be required, acknowledging your clinical placements, that sort of thing. And then you're going to convert them to a PDF and submit them online. This is where I'll pass it over to Erin. Oh, sorry, I missed the slide. Laddering opportunities. Okay, so you might be wondering, what can you do for education after our program? So after our program, there are quite a few options if you would like. So you can go ahead and get a secondary discipline in MRI. So that's a advanced certificate that you can do through distance ed. You can also use a lot of the credits that you gain from our program towards a Bachelor of Health Science at TRU. There's a Health Leadership Advanced Certificate offered through BCIT and a Bachelor of Technology and Technology Management offered through BCIT. So there's quite a few options if you want to continue your education. Okay, now I will officially pass it over to Erin. Sorry.
Yeah, sounds like that. That's not my slide. So thank you, Christy, for all that information. And I see that Jesse's been answering a lot of questions in the chat, so that's wonderful. Thank you both. So I'm going to talk a bit about how we like to support our students at BCIT. And Christy mentioned the Nuclear Medicine Group is a really small community, especially in the Lower Mainland, and nuclear medicine itself is a very supportive community. But BCIT as a whole has some supports set up for student success. So just going through some of these. Firstly, if you're an Indigenous, if you are of an Indigenous background, BCIT Indigenous Initiatives is here for you to ensure a smooth transition into your first year. They offer peer-to-peer mentorship, a welcoming gathering place on campus, and provide clarification on Indigenous funding options. I'm going to go in order on these. Student financial aid has numerous awards, scholarships, and bursaries that they can help you access and help you learn about. One of their awards in particular, the President's Entrance Award, is based on academic achievement and volunteering community service for students entering a new program. So I do urge you to check that one out because extra money always helps. For accessibility services, we are committed to providing assistance for students with permanent or temporary disabilities. So if you've been accepted into your program and you believe you might need accommodation, maybe you had an IEP in previous education, you should contact our accessibility services department. And our BCIT Student Health Services is a health clinic located here on the Burnaby campus, and they provide medical care for students year-round. They have doctors and nurses on staff. It's just a wonderful resource if you aren't able to get to your family doctor or don't currently have a family doctor like many people in BC. We also have counseling and student development. They're in the same building as Student Health Services. And they're available to help enhance your educational performance and maximize success as a student. They have both in-person, virtual and phone appointments. And you can refer to their website, and everything you say to them is of course confidential and will not get back to your instructors. So that's a really great resource. And then rec services, one of my favorites. We have a full service gym, weight room, cardio machines on campus available to students and staff and faculty. We also have lunch hour fitness classes. We have intramurals. You can rent out equipment. So there's lots of ways to get involved in rec services. Okay, moving on. You may have noticed Jessie in the chat answering questions. Jessie is one of our BCIT program advisors. The program advising department can help you with the application and admissions process. Any questions you have about your transcripts, about different courses that might be equal to prerequisites, they're available by telephone, Zoom, and email at the moment. Their current hours and all their contact information is at bcit.ca/advising. So we do encourage you to reach out to them with any questions. And as you explore BCIT and look into health sciences, we would love it if you could give us a follow on one of our social media accounts: Facebook, Twitter, which is what I'm still calling it, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn. We're on all of those. And it's a great way to kind of see what campus life is like, what students are up to, what new events are happening, what we're doing, what changes are happening at BCIT. And with that, oh, did I forget to put it? Oh, no, here it is. The nuclear medicine program has our best Instagram account on campus.
It really does.
It really does. Yeah.
It's really the best.
Christy can say that because she's actually not in charge of it. So.
Exactly. It's not me. Props to Haley.
But it's wonderful. I mean, I don't know a lot of the details of what they're doing in lab, but I love watching the posts and the videos on BCIT nuclear medicine on Instagram. It's really engaging. It's really fun. You really get to see how much the students and the faculty are a team and how they work together and how much fun they have too. And there's some social pictures on there as well.
Yeah, and they do like highlights of students and faculty actually, and lab videos. I think we have over 1,200 followers now.
Yeah, for a program that only takes 16 students, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and we have followers all over the world. Actually, it's really quite cool.
Cool. Yeah. So that, I mean, honestly, if you're wondering what a day in the life is like, just follow that account.
I must add to your Indigenous Indigenous support is we do actually have one seat dedicated to Indigenous student for our program. Also, as far as student financial aid and awards, there are bursaries that are being given from the ministry right now to help with tuition costs for health programs, including nuclear medicine. So students are receiving right now for the next, I would say it's going to be 3 years, but I know we've been given the next couple of years for sure, which would include your 2 years if you apply now, $2,000 a year towards your tuition. So that's a significant amount. So that's a total of $4,000 off your total commission. There are also interim achievement awards, there's grad awards, and awards that come through on occasion from the health sciences school. So there are opportunities for sure.
That's great. Yes. Okay, and now I'm going to take a look at the chat here and see what kind of questions Jesse has not answered. No, he's answered them all. Somebody did say, are there scholarships? So they messaged me directly just a minute ago about that. We do have bursaries. Do we have scholarships as well, Christy? Do we know?
Well, not quite yet. We don't have like an entrance scholarship. That's all I can say, not quite yet.
Okay, good answer. But yeah. Christy, I do urge you to contact our financial aid and awards department at BCIT. They might have some other information for you as well. Thank you for clarifying the program advising hours, Jesse. I know I was just told by somebody that you weren't doing much in person anymore, so I kind of glossed over that one. Anastasia is saying, could you please repeat whether the applications for this year are still open? Yes, Anastasia, they
Yes.
are still open. We opened applications October 1st, and we are keeping them open until filled. And I think Christy said that at the moment we are about halfway filled. So yes, they're still open. And Christy is asking, how much is tuition?
It's just over 20,000. So
Christy, if you go,
16 with the bursaries.
Christy, if you go onto our website and go to BCIT tuition estimator, that'll give you a more exact figure. But yes.
How much is the starting and maximum salary for this position? Good question. So you're starting at about $37 an hour, which, quick math, I think is somewhere between $60,000 and $65,000 a year, right? I'm thinking $37. HSA is the union where where if you're working in the hospital, they govern all of this. So you can actually go to HSA and do a wage calculator for any of the health sciences jobs. So it's published there. It's public. So you can just Google HSA wage calculator and you can take a little look.
Do we have a spend a day?
Sorry, there was another question, right?
Do we diagnose our patients?
Yes, we definitely contribute to diagnosing our patients. Absolutely. So we test for so many different types of diseases, and we look at tons of symptoms and apply them to our images. And with all of that information, physicians use that to provide diagnoses. Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't
And
provide
staging for cancer as well. No, we do provide diagnosis for some of our exams. Not all of our stuff is related to cancer. Lots of it's, you could be a runner and have a stress fracture and it doesn't show up on an x-ray, so you come for a bone scan. You could have a coronary artery disease and you have chest pain when you're running or on exertion, and we're looking to see how your heart's functioning. You could have epilepsy, you could have Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, or hyperthyroid, hypothyroid. There's some other ones top of my head. Delayed gastric emptying. We give patients radioactive eggs that they eat, and we look to see how quickly they go through the stomach.
Wow. Anastasia's asking, where can we sign up for the student spend a day program? Are you participating in the spend a day program right now, Christy?
We are. We are always trying to stay open to that, even if the whole institute is not, because we love for our students to come and actually see what our program is like. I think that's really where connections are made. Lucy came for a student for a day, for example. Look at that. So you just have to email me. The email address will be at the last slide. Email me, and then we'll set it up from there.
Okay. Vienna is asking, do we work with all ages?
Yes, in fact, I worked at BC Children's for about 10 years. So there's pediatric patients that are usually typically sent to Children's, or there's a Children's area of Surrey Memorial as well. But you can work with all ages in a general nuclear medicine department too, especially if you're in a rural area where a children's department is not nearby.
Wonderful. That adds fun variety too.
It sure does. Yeah, there's a whole different fun aspect of those types of imaging procedures for sure.
Okay. Any other questions? Last call. Of course, if you think of questions after the fact and we didn't get to your question, or you need a little more information, please do contact Program Advising or contact Christy directly. Again, because this is a small program, they love to hear from prospective applicants and prospective students. They love to chat with you. So, yeah. Okay, great. Well, I'm going to end it off there. Thank you again so much for joining us this evening. Thank you for weathering that whole Zoom shutdown problem. I don't really know what happened there, but we really appreciate everyone coming back on so quickly. It did take me a minute to realize, because I was still watching the video on my end, but thank you. I really appreciate your patience and your understanding tonight.